Members, we have a quorum. The meeting is now called to order. Item 1, confirmation minutes. Paper CB4 732 1213 and CB4 734 1213. And the Secretary has not received any proposed amendment. Do members have any comments? Or do you want to raise an amendment? If not, then the two sets of minutes will be confirmed. Okay? Okay, minutes confirmed. Item 2, information papers issued since the last meeting. They are on the agenda. 2 items. We move on to item 3. The first items for our last meeting will be the 9th of February, Tuesday. This will be the last meeting of our term. Since we have many items outstanding, I suggest to the Secretary that we will extend the meeting. It will be from 10 to 1, 10 in the morning to 1 p.m. So we have 1 more hour. And there are 3 items. One is the progress of the committee on free kindergarten education. The administration has formed a committee to look into the task, and therefore we need to discuss the progress of works. The second item is probably also mentioned in the press. There will be a review on subvention arrangements for the ESF. And we are going to discuss strengthening the education support measures for non-Chinese speaking students. We add 1 more hour to our meeting. And I also notice that some members want to add more items on our list, and I'll try to accommodate as much as possible. I will have a meeting with the Vice Chairman as soon as possible, and I'll try and will try to include as many outstanding items as possible at the last meeting. Today is Monday. And then after 2 days is Mid-Autumn Festival. No, it is the Dragon Boat Festival. Okay, then I will tell you within this week what items we discuss in our July meeting. Okay, before we go into the agenda proper, according to section 83A, if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in respect of the items to be discussed, you need to disclose the nature of your interest before you speak. We have the item before us, one-off school development grant for preliminary education vouchers scheme kindergartens and kindergartens cum childcare centers. Shall we invite a show of hands, please. Shall we invite officials in, please? For item 2, I sent in a letter asking the UGC and the Education Bureau to discuss the research postgraduate program. Yes, I have received your letter. I've already passed on your letter on the spot to the Education Bureau, and I'll discuss with Vice Chairman as to when we discuss this item. All right, a show of hands who want to speak.
Right.
Mr. Young, then the Secretary. Would you please take us through the paper? Please be precise and brief. Chairman, we are studying 15 years of education to include kindergarten education. In the interim, we need to we propose to provide a one-off school development grant in the 2013-14 school year to help the kindergartens to enhance their facilities and premises. We propose to add $150,000 as the basic sum, and together with a per head grant of $750, and the $750, and the maximum is altogether $250,000. We expect that the total expenditure is $165 million. The kindergartens will make use of the money within the 3-year triennium of the 2013-14 school year, and this can be used to improve school premises, buy furniture, facilities, and learning resources, and may also buy additional or engage additional staff to enhance the operation of the kindergarten. The records and book have to be kept for our checking if need be. At the end of the 2015 school year, if there is any unspent amount, the amount will have to be given back to the government. With the blessing of the FC, then in August 2013, we will issue notices to the kindergartens, the details and the arrangements, and then release the grant in the 2013-14 school year. Okay. We will end our discussion of this part before 5. Those first round, and they are Wang Yokman, Kenneth Chen, Fernando Zhang, Yip Kin Yun, Tommy Chung, Albert Ho, and I'll draw a line. Helena Wong. 268. No second round. Okay, 1 round only. 3 minutes, questions and answers. Wang Yongman, how much can we go? How far can we go in 3 minutes? This issue is very likely the outcome, the result of the comment by the Commissioner of Audits report. I'm a member of the PAC. I attended the public hearing, and we are about to complete the report. Of course, I cannot divulge the content of the report because the report is yet, the PAC report is yet to be announced. Concerning this so-called development grant, I would like to seek an enlightenment from the Undersecretary. We've heard the term of enhancing and this and enhancing that. That really make me mad. That means it is they are empty words. These are just empty words. Why use these descriptors? Tell us the facts. Do away with these nonsense. In the Commissioner's report, Commissioner of Audit report number 60, there is one important element about the administration fees charged by the kindergartens. The voucher system just cannot help the poor families. And when they give their financial accounts to you, the devils are in the details. And we have read them, and we found there are many tricks. Now, will you be able to reduce the administration fees and miscellaneous fees charged by the kindergartens? You have to deal with the problem in the Commission of Audits report number 60. We will not let you go. Because of time constraint, I cannot ask all my questions, but there is only 1 minute left. But I still want to ask this simple question. This so-called development grant, will you be able to reduce the administration fees and miscellaneous fees of the kindergartens? Well, it doesn't have any direct impact on reducing the school fees. The purpose is not to give a subsidy to In talking with the kindergartens on free education, we know that some kindergartens want to improve their school premises and facilities. And if we do not provide the one-off grant, that may cause the school fees to increase. Now you want to prevent the raise in school fees or limit the raise in school fees. But how far can you go with that sum of money? They are raising school fees, administration fees, miscellaneous fees. Say if we give the money to them, if we don't give the money to them, we really don't know whether they need to spend a sum of money to do the maintenance of school premises, and that may have an impact. Well, that is really not of much use. Kenneth Chan, $250,000 for 3 years. That's just about $6,000 per month. Have you ever asked a kindergarten, whether $6,000 per month is adequate for the development of kindergarten? It's mainly for maintenance and repair. It's only if it is only used to stop us talking, then it's really nonsense. The majority of the kindergartens may just be renting the premises from the housing department or from the government. The administration should help them with the length of tenancy and also the rent level. I just want to know how the grants can help the kindergartens and also the parents. And how can you give confidence to the kindergarten sector that you are really going for 15 years of education? Now, Mr. Kenneth Chan doubts whether the money can help. Now, we have a committee on 15 years of education, 15 years of free education. The development grant is the result of discussion with the operators of kindergartens. We, through our discussion with them, found that they want to make improvements to their premises. The parents are getting more and more demanding with regard to facilities and teaching and learning resources. They need to do that. Operators need to make reinvestment. But if they make any reinvestment, they may face financial pressure, and that in turn may lead to the increase in school fees. Having considered all these, we believe that the administration can give some money to the kindergartens to improve the teaching and learning environment. And in the long term, we hope that the committee will provide long-term plans as well as short and medium-term measures. Now, the $250,000 at most, $150,000 is the base. These will be given to kindergartens. The administration should know how the money is to be used. What are the specific items? Do they have in mind? How are they going to use a grant? Now, the schools can do some minor maintenance, and during summer holidays, the school will do some maintenance and repair works, and they can also use the money to buy teaching materials. They may not buy. They may not just buy the materials. They may need to do R&D on teaching materials, so they can commission short-term staff to do the R&D on teaching materials.
Next, Dr. Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Chair. The voucher scheme has been with us for a few years, but there have been so much grievance created. We know it is not going to work. What you have to do is to offer 15 years free education, and pre-primary education should be incorporated into formal free mandatory education. That is what you should do. Well, this is really cosmetic, isn't it? The maximum is $250,000 for 3 years. The Directors of Audit report in report number 60 has shown that under the voucher scheme, there is a big difference in terms of school fees, and also over a third of KGs are running at a loss, but then some of them also charge very high miscellaneous fees. There are media reports saying that school sponsoring bodies are receiving rental from KGs or nurseries that they themselves operate, and the rentals are very high. The audit report also proposed there should be an increase in transparency. So when nurseries receive miscellaneous fees, we have to know how much are collected. My question now is, you seek to give more money to nurseries. Of course, we support it, especially for those which are operating with difficulty and which take care of grassroots residents. But then would you comply with the audit report saying that they should increase transparency? And also, will the money go towards the paying of rentals? Undersecretary. Chairman, this should not be used to pay rent. No, this should not be used to pay rent. Please answer him. Don't answer me. No, right? Absolutely not. We don't want the money to be abused. This is for maintenance and repair, and also to provide more resources to schools. As I said at the beginning, we will ask them to open a special account for this money, and all the items of expenditure must be listed for the inspection of the Education Bureau. When you say a separate account, well, even in the same account, there should be a subhead, something like a subhead, and all the bills and invoices should be kept. You don't actually require them to have a special account, no, but that they should record the expenditure under this amount separately. Deputy Chairman, I'd like to commend them to start with. After the submission of the paper, we have found that compared to 5 years ago, when the PEFS was launched, now you cover a bigger scope and the arrangement is better because you allow schools to spend the money within 3 years, so they do not have to rush to spend the money. Okay, the compliments aside, there would be a lot of criticism following. As other members have said, in the end, this is just a petty favor. This is just a small stopgap measure. The major issue is 15 years free education, but the progress has been slow. I don't know whether you know the composition of the 5 groups under the Committee on Free Education. I don't think we have got the membership yet. The 5 working groups, well, they have been released. Well, if that's the case, then that's good. But we must understand that we should really strive for 15 years free education. And this one is only a stopgap measure. And we want you to really take good care of the full-day KGs, which are operating with difficulty. As usual, the Education Bureau will take care of children at 3 years and above, and the SWD from 0 to 3 years. In full-time KGs now, many of the students are 2 years old. And in the calculation of the grant, students at 2 years or below are not counted in. Therefore, overall speaking, there is not very much help for full-time KGs or whole-day KGs. If this is allowed to continue, we'll see that whole-day KGs still have a big problem. Since there is a 3-year period, can you fine-tune the program so 2-year-olds are included if they're in whole-day KGs? Undersecretary. Chairman, this is for KGs using the PEVS. So it is going to operate within the same scope. Deputy Chairman, we understand. PEVS is for children over 3 years old, so children of 2 years, 2-year-olds are not included. But you set the rules for the PEVS. So apart from KGs using PEVS, you can also seek to help 2-year-olds in whole day KGs. You can set your rules, right? One word from the Undersecretary, yes or no? We don't have the plan for the time being. Okay, Mr. Tommy Cheung. Chairman, I support the PEVS, but I have something to say about this proposal. I have different views from many colleagues on the 15 years free education. I don't think we should have a broad brush approach. It's just like private schools where many of them became subsidized schools, and now it seems we are reversing the trend. By having 15 years free education, we might be limiting the room for development for many KGs. Anyway, coming back to this paper, I think the only thing I want to talk about is, well, actually, I wear the hat of being the chairman of the FC, and very often members criticize me for having my own decided stance. But coming back to this paper, you say they have to return the money if they cannot spend it within 3 years. Well, but it's not a big amount. Why do you expect people not to be able to use it up? Even some small refurbishment works would be expensive. But you say this is a one-off grant. If they spend all the $250,000 within a year, and then next year they wind up, they stop the business, then there would be a waste of public money. And secondly, they may say they want to become a profit-making KG instead of a KG with PEVS. In other words, they would use your money and then they would not stay in the scheme. So the money would be wrongly spent. And also, I don't know what can be done with just $250,000, and you are talking about spending it over 3 years. Frankly speaking, I don't think you can answer taxpayers' money because you are giving out the money lightly to PEVS KGs. Do they have to give any undertaking? What if they get the money and next year they wind up? Okay, how can you prevent the abuse of this grant? Undersecretary. Chairman, frankly, if the money is granted, and if the KG winds up, now if the money has not been spent or has only been partially spent, we'll certainly get back what is remaining. But if in the first year the whole amount is used up, and if for a certain reason the KG is wound up without any deceptive intention, then we cannot help it. You only have 10 seconds. This is what I'm not asking. They say they spend the money and then they would not stay in the PEVS scheme. Well, if that's the case, they cannot be included in the scheme. But no, they are a PEVS KG right now. My question is direct. Okay, how can you prevent abuse? If they opt out of PEVS, well, look, if they are already a PEVS, if next year they opt out, students in K2, K3 who are promoted from K1 would still receive the vouchers. You mean the money cannot be reverted to you? If the money has been granted and it has been spent, and then students continue to get promoted to K2, K3, then they are still benefiting from it. Albert Ho. Chairman, $250,000 for 3 years and a total of $165 million. I think what you will succeed in doing is one thing, and that you shut us up for 3 years. So we do not chase you up on 15 years free education. I don't know why it will take 3 years. Well, at least we will be silenced for 3 years. Look, if you vote in favor of the program, it means you cannot again pursue 15 years free education in the next 3 years. That will certainly be the case. they will say, I have already given the money for 3 years, so why do you still want 15 years free education? I don't think the Committee on Free KG Education should take 3 years. Well, I think these two are one and the same thing. If you support the grant, it will mean that you will not be able to say anything in the next 3 years, and only after 3 years you will be able to start the discussion again. Undersecretary, is that the case? No, these two are not one and the same thing. And first of all, I don't think there is anything that can silence members. And secondly, the committee would like to make a proposal within 2 years. So it has nothing to do with 3 years. 3 years is just to allow KGs to have a comparatively longer period to spend the money. So they will not have to do it within 1 or 2 years. But number one, you are telling me that within 2 years there will be a conclusion from the committee. If we want to launch 15 years free education, then at least we should wait 3 years. No, they said there will be a report after 2 years. But then within 3 years, nothing can be done. Right, we took them to task as to why they needed 2 years. No, we mean the committee will issue a final report before 2 years are up. But at the same time, we hope the committee will also propose short, medium, and long-term measures to help the industry. So hopefully, now I don't know what progress is like right now, but within 2 years, we hope that there can also be short-term measures for us to launch within 1 or 2 years. Look, you are talking about short-term measures after 2 years. No, we mean short-term measures within the 2-year period. But a report will be available at the end of 2 years. Okay, if we want to implement 15 years free education, it will be 2 years from now. No, you are giving them this grant that can be spent over 3 years, so it will be something 3 years from now. And even if you have a report 2 years from now, you need to give them time to prepare for 15 years free education, so that will take at least a year, and that is if a decision is made in that direction. Okay, no more answers. Dr. Helena Wong. I will give 1 minute of my time for you to answer. Chairman, very briefly. Frankly, the two things are separate. This is a 3-year grant, but there will be a report after 2 years. And within 2 years, we hope that the committee will make proposals for short-term measures. Now, I think you have misunderstood the question. Dr. Helena Wong, can you repeat Mr. Albert Ho's question? Because it is your time. Or you can allow Mr. Ho to ask the question again. No, I will ask the question. On the audit report, it mentioned the face value of the vouchers and how it is decided. First, inflation, 2, salary increase for salaries, and also professional development of teachers. Now, in the latest round of vouchers, it is just adjusted according to inflation. In other words, salary increase and enhancement of teachers are not reflected in the value of vouchers. And this one of grant, is for maintenance, repair, and improvement of school premises and facilities, procurement of furniture and learning resources, etc. In other words, the qualification enhancement and also salary increase of teachers will not be attended to in the coming 3 years. Is that right? I believe you understand that teacher wastage for KGs is extremely high. Some are set at 80%. It is going to be disastrous. What measures do you have to tackle the situation?
Yes, the administration. Concerning the voucher, the value of the voucher. In 2007, when we launched the voucher system, we said that in the next 5 years, the voucher will be increased from $10,000 to $16,000. And we took into account 3 factors, including inflation, salaries of teachers, and also upgrading of qualifications. And in 2010, there was a review. And then what next after $16,000? We conducted a review then, and we proposed that from $16,000 onwards, the adjustment would be according to inflation. It will be adjusted to 16,800 and then 17,000 something. Leung Kwok-hong. Well, having heard the reply of the Undersecretary, I remember this. It is just to pour hot water to stop the boiling. But in fact, you should take away the firewood instead. You think if you help them with maintenance and fitting out, then the schools will not increase school fees. I have reservation about it. Now you spend $55 million each year just to shut us up. Yes, you just pour some water into the pot, but the water is still boiling, and you're still adding firewood. That really can't help. Now, the report is now being drafted. Maybe you just launch one item when the item matures. That's what's said by the chief executive. When the one policy item is matured, then it will be launched. Now you just spend $165 million to shut us up. But how are they going to spend that money? You don't supervise how they spend money. Mr. Tommy Cheung is right. Do you have a direction on how to use the money? Well, you can spend the money if it is worth doing. Well, perhaps I haven't made myself clear at the start. Now, this proposal is not directly related to the work of the committee. The committee is reviewing how to implement 15 years of education. There will be short-term measures in the interim, as said by Mr. Leung. If they have any recommendations, we will consider them and we will launch them if possible. As for this scheme, it is the result of previous discussion with the kindergartens. They said that they needed some help in terms of teaching resources and improving the school premises, and we think that is worth doing. Why don't you give them more money to retain the teachers? They have a high wastage rate. The kindergarten teachers are leaving. Well, the $250,000 maximum is to do repair maintenance. Ms. Alina Wong said that after the review, qualification enhancement should be included. Now, it's my turn. Concerning the 5 working groups under the committee, have you fixed the membership of the 5 committees? Has it been announced? Well, I'm not a member. If I were a member, I should have known it. All right. All members have spoken. Do you support the administration? Now, let me put it this way. Do you support the administration to submit the application? Just to submit, okay, to the application to the FC. Do you support that? Do you support the submission? Those in favor, please raise their hands. You support submitting this paper to the FC? Yes, I know you have reservations. The question is not whether you support the proposal. The question is whether you support submitting the paper to the FC for discussion. Now, I see more hands. Okay. We support you bringing this to the FC. Okay, next item on the agenda. And that is one-off or rather proposed scholarships for post-secondary students who have special educational needs. Now, who would like to speak after the introduction by the Secretary? Please raise your hands. The Undersecretary, you may now speak. I'm just taking note of those members who want to speak. Now, the FS in its budget proposes to inject $20 million each into the HKSARG Scholarship Fund and the Self-Financing Post-Secondary Education Fund to set up scholarships and awards for giving recognition to deserving post-secondary students with special educational needs. We propose to give support to 100 students who have special education needs and who are studying in post-secondary level. We propose in 2013 to give $10,000 to each students, and then the steering committee of the relevant funds will review the amount from time to time. As for the proposed scholarships, the details will be modeled after the existing GSF and SPSS. If members are agreeable, then we will go to the Finance Committee, and then with the approval of Finance Committee, we will discuss with the relevant steering committee to draw up the details. In 2013-14, we have earmarked adequate funds for injection of $20 million each to the two funds. Now, the target is to end our discussion at 5:20. So I'll read out the names: Leung Yiu Chung, Helena Wong, Fernando Cheung, Kenneth Chan, Sid Ho, Yip Kian Yun, Claudia Mo, Tommy Cheung. Who else? No one missing. Okay, 3 minutes each. Leung Yiu Chung. Chairman, I hope next time you do not arrange a meeting like that. You just give us 3 minutes. Well, we have 2 hours and we have to discuss 4 items. Your arrangement is really not appropriate. We're just scratching the surface. Next time, please don't arrange the agenda like this. Well, concerning $10,000 to each student. If you buy several books, they cost you $10,000. Now, for those who have special education needs, if they want to buy some equipment, they want to buy some software, then they can't go to the $10,000 can't go too far. And for SENs, it is very unlikely for them to have post-secondary education. They really can't pass the DSE. Now, for language subjects, for liberal studies, they find these subjects very difficult. Why can't the administration help the primary and secondary school students to use the money so that they can they can study in post-secondary level? For those who are suffering from dyslexia, they really can't be promoted to tertiary level. Do you have additional resources to help the students so that they can pass DSE and get into the post-secondary studies? Now, the purpose of the scholarships to award those students who have enrolled in the universities and post-secondary institutions and who have outstanding performance. These scholarships are not to help the primary and secondary students to study to move up to the tertiary level. Well, how far can they go with $10,000? this is a kind of award. We don't expect that they spend $10,000 on a specific purpose. It's up to them. But you must have a target as to how the money is to be spent. I will not say it's a handout. But you must have a target. You must have a certain expectation. What's the use of $10,000? Simple answer, please. The simple answer is that the $10,000 each arrangement is decided in respect of the other scholarships, and they are usually $10,000 per student. Helena Wang, I agree with Mr. Leung Yu-chung. Concerning the SENs, very few of them can study in the university. It is very difficult for them to go into the universities. And the scholarship is to encourage those who have got into the universities and who have a good performance. I think the most important thing is what are the barriers for SENs to be promoted to tertiary education. Why can't the administration use the scholarships in the regular scholarship funds to support or to award the SENs? Do you have special criteria for SENs, and the criteria are different from the non-SENs? Well, it's not about the assessment criteria. Now, we've injected $20 million each for the scholarships for SENs. We will go to the tertiary education institutions and ask them to nominate SENs, and then we'll give awards to them. It doesn't mean that they can't get other scholarships. They can still apply for other scholarships, but we have a specific amount for SENs. So, two sources. Fernando Cheung. Thank you, Chairman. This is another wrongly targeted scheme. They have the priorities upside down. This is another cosmetic measure. Let's don't speak on the difficulties of SENs. They have difficulties to receive preschool education, and they also suffer in primary and secondary education, and their self-esteem suffer severe blows, and they are regarded as losers in the examination system. Now, if they have passed all these exams, the $10,000 is not the crucial matter. In fact, Civic Exchange conducted a study last year. Mr. Mitchell studied into the situation of the SENs in the 8 tertiary institutions. There is no equal opportunity for SENs. In the NSS, the administration has nearly forgotten the SENs. As for the admission of students by the universities, they have no special policy, and there is no dedicated department or unit to work with SENs. Even if there is, these people are not specifically tasked to help SENs. They belong to the SAO, the Student Assistant Office. Now, to assist the SENs in universities, the university policy, the training of teachers, and also the attitude of the universities have to be changed.
Of course, we have no reason to object to these funds, but you are not spending the money on schemes that are most needy. If you are really committed, go back and read this report. There are many concrete proposals, and you should at least do one of these, and that is to have a policy for SEN students. Do you have a policy to grant them an equal opportunity to learn, so that at the different stages of learning, including the 4 years of university, they should get the opportunity for education, and there should be a friendly environment in tertiary institutes? We have seen recent reports that blind students have said that in overseas countries, the administration or government would require the textbook producers to provide a audio version. Can you do it? Okay, I think he supports the scholarships. He is asking you to read the reports. All right, Mr. Kenneth Chan. Well, I'm really irritated with the agenda today. This item is very similar to the last one. They are spending some money, they give you a lump sum, but then they do not address the core issues. The last paper is about refurbishing the facilities, and this one is a scholarship. But I agree with these members who have spoken. If they can go into university, they go into self-financing courses. All these are expenses, and they are subject to discrimination. I have got a case at my ward office that the lecturer thinks that that student is a cause of trouble because he has to provide different assessment for this student. And now you have $10,000 for these people, but then it's not going to help in a big way. What you should do is to encourage these students, recognize their performance and their insistence on success, and provide them with a comprehensive scholarship. We have the money. We are conducting integrated education, but then at that committee you are dragging your feet. You say you need to also prepare for assessment on liberal studies, etc. But now you provide a $10,000 scholarship and you think you have completed your work. I don't think this is what you should do to work for an integrated society. You are pushing policies in the wrong direction. Here we talk about the value of education, but it seems the last paper and this paper, which address kindergartens and universities, I think you are pretending to be working on education. I'm really very angry. Let's hear from the Under Secretary. So are you operating education or pretending to provide education? Well, Chairman, we never thought that the scholarship would address all the needs of SEN students. We'll continue to work on that. This is just one way to express our encouragement for them. Well, I will spend the rest of my time. There is this big problem. It has always been there, but it seems you have the resolve and direction to resolve the problem, so we want to talk to you. But then the Undersecretary is really skilled in his oratory skills, and he is saying that, look, this paper is only about this, and we will talk about other things with you on other occasions. But then the problems are only going to accumulate. You are not resolving the problem. Undersecretary, you have 20 seconds more. Chairman, now I don't know whether members know this, but I am doing everything possible to complement the Committee on Integrated Education of LegCo. It doesn't mean that if I work on this, I would forget the rest of the topic. Ms. Sito, Chairman, students with SEN need support, not just a reward. If you give them $10,000 as pocket money, you are not helping them face the few years of tertiary education. News reports have it that in tertiary education institutes, they do not have the facilities to help students with SEN. They have toiled for over a decade in order to go into such tertiary institutes. They have to be one of the 16 top % of all students of the right age cohort. But then because tertiary students do not receive enough support, they have to leave the tertiary institutes. I think you have heard about this. Actually, if you want to give them an award, then you should award everyone who gets into a tertiary institute. And actually, what these students need is support so that in the university, they can compete with other students on a level playing field. But now, because of their SEN, they might have to leave university even if they have entered it. And you are depending on the 1 million interest every year. And you are talking about awarding students with SEN. I think you've got the wrong focus. But as to whether we would object to the paper, of course we won't. It is something that we would prefer to stay. But then students will not thank you. Why don't you go for a more thorough solution? Undersecretary, how can you really support students with SEN? Chairman, actually in the 2013-14 financial year, we have said that we will give $12 million to the VTC every year to purchase equipment for students with SEN and also to provide psychological counseling. I understand that other tertiary institutes would also provide students with SEN other kinds of assistance and services depending on their needs and also the subjects they read. So we are not making use of this as the only way to help students with SEN. This is actually to show recognition of their hard work. So why not give it to 530 students? Well, this is a scholarship. It is not a grant. Well, Chairman, students with SEN have toiled for over a decade by overcoming so many hurdles before they get into a university. So you should recognize every one of them. Well, when we look at the numbers, we believe many more will come forward. But we don't want to recognize each and every one. No, in fact, they don't need your $10,000 as recognition, but they need support. Yip Kin Yun, Deputy Chairman. Chairman, well, as members have said, we feel quite helpless when faced with this item. We want to support it, but in fact, we don't really want to support it. I'd like to ask a simple question. This kind of weird ideas, where do they come from? I know that it appeared in the budget or the PA, but is this something cooked up behind closed doors? Who came up with the idea? Undersecretary, who came up with these weird ideas? Chairman, well, no one in particular, but after internal discussion and after discussion with other departments, you won't get a satisfactory answer. Of course, you talk about internal discussion. Well, exactly, I'm trying to ask whether there has been public consultation. Have you talked to the potential beneficiaries? Are you addressing their actual needs? Or are you just plucking this out of thin air, saying that, okay, this may be a good kind of award for them? Chairman, maybe I don't express myself well. This item and also the last are not such that the money will address all the problems faced by students with SEN. We understand they need a lot of support, like at the Committee on Integrated Education, they had a lot of problem with liberal studies in the DSE. Well, okay, I know your answer. In other words, as Mr. Kenneth Chan said, you would only address the scope of this paper. But I'd like to ask a question of priority. Why do you think this is more important if they have $40 million? Well, the two funds together, $40 million. Why don't you use it to provide for support facilities for these students? $40 million may not be enough, but as seed money, I'm sure there would be more people who would receive actual and concrete help. This is a priority issue. Undersecretary, apart from the scholarships, what kinds of other support are there? Chairman, as I said, starting from this year, there will be $12 million for VTC every year for them to help students with SEN. So in due course, well, $12 million is a small amount. Every year, this will be a recurrent expenditure. Well, let me ask you, did you consult anybody during the decision-making process? I think that is crucial. Under Secretary. Chairman, we did not consult any particular persons on this proposal, but we have received many different views in our daily contact. Ms. Claudia Mo, last time when we talked about integrated education, some parents strongly criticized the new exam system, especially the liberal studies subject. Youngsters with SEN may be good in music or they are good with figures, but they can't do analysis of current affairs. But then you said at that time that you would continue to share with parents. But why don't you use these $40 million to help those students so as to help them with the liberal studies subject under DSE? Maybe you can have a different marking scheme for them, and if they cannot write, they should be able to give verbal answers. I would rather you help them this way so they have a bigger chance of entering universities instead of just dishing out the money. Well, actually, no, not everybody will get it. As Ms. Sitho was saying, if they are already that excellent, each one should get $10,000. I have also thought about Ip Kin Yun's point. Where did you pluck this idea from? Was it a kind of muse that inspired you? Or is it that you feel guilty because you have created a mess of integrated education, so this is just to make people a little happy? Well, I think you may have that mentality, so I require no answer. My question is, you say that in Hong Kong now, most of the students with SEN in universities are locals. And the new scholarship will probably go to these students. I'd like to know what you mean by the majority, because in the campuses now, I hear Putonghua more than Cantonese. Under Secretary, can we have a ratio? I want exact figures. In 2012-13, students with SEN in publicly funded courses, there are altogether 376, and 19 only are from outside of Hong Kong. And as for non-publicly funded places, there are just 2 out of 252. Okay, you say you give them recognition. Is it that it would be for the universities to decide who gets the scholarship? Under Secretary, the nominations would be done by the tertiary institutes. For the self-financing courses, the committees will vet each and every nomination or application. Next, Mr. Tommy Cheung. Chairman, talking about special education, I think members have different views. But in any case, I'd like to ask a question. You say other people are doing that, so you want to give out $10,000, but I have qualms about this. Special education means special, and yet you are now trying to give the same treatment to them just like any other able-bodied students. I don't know what policies you are launching. The Liberal Party will not object to this, but anyone who gets this scholarship or other scholarships, will they not be able to receive any other benefit? In other words, if they get the scholarship, is it that they would not be able to raise a loan, or that they would not be eligible for other scholarships? No, Chairman. There will be no impact on the application of other scholarships or grants and loans if they need it.
In other words, this is something extra. They will not be barred from getting other financial support. Say, for example, if they want to get a loan, you will not cut the loan, say, by $10,000 because of the award, and not bar them from getting other scholarships. No. All right. the Undersecretary, I think the scholarship for students with SENs is nothing has nothing that goes against giving support to students with SENs. Apart from the scholarship, the administration should consider more in respect of giving support to students with SENs and not to waste our talents. I think in principle, well, perhaps I ask you whether you support the administration bringing the paper to the FC. Okay. Members also support that. The next one, are you also involved in this? Yes. Okay. Next item. It is the update on the proposed use of the southern portion of the former campus of the HK Institute of Vocational Education, Lee Y. Lee. A show of hands, please, if you want to ask questions. Paper CB 4756 1213 bracket 03. The Undersecretary, Mr. Young, please. Thank you, Chairman. The former campus, 0.6 hectares of land, has been earmarked for the Baptist University. The Town Planning Board is now working on the statutory procedure of the rezoning of the southern portion. During the period of exhibition, the Town Planning Board received more than 25,000 representations, and members of the public can give their views within the statutory period, and the Town Planning Board will consider their views. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those on the list: Kenneth Chan, Fernando Cheung, Claudia Mo, Regina Ip, Ma Fong Kwok, Helena Wong, and who else? Who would like to speak for in the first round? A Q&A, 3 minutes each. Kenneth Chen. I'm Associate Professor of the Baptist University. I believe members have got a letter from the President of the Baptist University, which has just been tabled. In fact, the news has been in the media for several weeks. The message is that the administration wants to have a showdown with the Baptist University. If the Town Planning Board does not approve the rezoning, then the land will not, or the program will not go ahead, nor for that of the northern portion. So it is all or nothing. You will not allow the Baptist University to get the northern portion if your rezoning of the southern portion is not approved. Now, because the Lee Y. Lee building covers both sectors and therefore the whole block will not be touched until there is rezoning. Now, according to the agreement between UGC and the Baptist University, the Baptist University will raise funds for the student hostels and also the activity center. That is legitimate expectation. They're going to expand, and then you play these tricks. How can you explain? Are you going to have the all or nothing scheme on this one? Well, we have no intention to do that. Now, there is a block which covers the northern zone and the southern zone. The 0.6 hectares is what is left from the northern left after discounting the northern portion. Now, if the use of the southern portion is not decided, we really can't demolish the whole building. Then you are dragging the development of the northern portion. Now, it will take 2 to 3 years for the northern portion to get the money. Thank you, Chairman. So you just hold up the whole process. Should they raise funds? Should they plan? Well, in fact, they can do the planning. We're just saying that we'll not demolish the building first. But if you don't have a timetable, how can they control costs? Cost is changing every day. Well, Mr. Chairman, we do not hold up the planning process of the Baptist University. They can talk to the UGC to speak on how the project can go ahead. Well, that's just lying. Fernando Zhang. Of the 25,884 representations, only 7 supported the proposal. The rest, more than 25,800, were against the rezoning of the site to residential group B. According to the newspapers, the southern portion is expected to build about 400 odd units with a size of about 700 or more square meters. It is already in the land sales program, and they are about to have a bite of this fat cut. Now, these universities have a shortage of land. I am an alumni of the Baptist University. The Baptist site is site is adjoining this site, and they need a Chinese medical school. They need a Chinese medicine hospital. Do you have any difficulty of giving the whole site to the Baptist U? Well, at the last meeting, we already explained that we have our own rules and criteria for calculating the site for the Baptist for the universities, and if we give the 0.6 hectare to the Baptist University, we'll be able to meet the demand for floor space. They have a proposal to build a Chinese medicine hospital, a TCM hospital. What's your question? Why can't they give the site to them so that they build the TCM hospital? Can the Development Bureau tell us whether the money has been the site has been included in the land sales program, the southern portion for the TCM hospital? Why can't that be done? As for the TCM hospital, panel, or rather the Bureau, will speak on that. This for education purpose. Education hospital, right? Yes, the TCM hospital is not funded by UGC. It's not an item under the UGC funding. So the administration will not give land for that. I really don't understand the Development Bureau with regard to Mr. Cheung's question, the site of the former Levi Lee College, whether it is in the land sales program. Yes, indeed, it is. Every year, we put the sites that can likely be put into the market in the list. And then we will also wait for the completion of the statutory process before we launch it in the market. Next, Claudia Mo. They really robbing the site from the Baptist University. It's really weird. Well, I have been a part-time lecturer of the Baptist U. You really can't imagine that the whole site cannot be developed together. you try to steal the site, half of the site, for building luxury apartments. You jump the gun. You put it in the list. It has not been passed by town planning board. You have not consulted the public, and yet you put the site on the list for sale. The administration is just going after money. Our treasury is flooded with money. Now this is education. This is the education panel. We are discussing this education issue. You cannot say that that's the responsibility of the Food and Environment Bureau. That's the responsibility of the Development Bureau. It's none of the business of the Education Bureau. Land is not your matter. But you are responsible for education. They have a plan for medical school, for the Chinese medical school, for the Chinese medicine teaching hospital. Do you support a TCM teaching hospital? The education, I beg pardon, the Food and Health Bureau. Thank you for the question. At the last meeting, we've already explained that the administration supports the development of TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. As for TCM hospital, the Chinese Medical Council is considering that very carefully. There is a very special structure for joint efforts. Well, I think you support that. Now, I want to ask the Development Bureau, assuming that the Town Planning Board decides to reserve this site for education purpose, can that still be used for the TCM teaching hospital? Who is answering your question? Development Bureau, a hypothetical question. Thank you, Chairman. The rezoning application, I want to ask the Education Bureau. Okay, this is a hypothetical question. I want a hypothetical answer. Assuming the Town Planning Board agrees that it should be used for education purpose, do you support this teaching hospital? Now, at the end of the day, if it is used for education purpose, then we'll consider it from education angle. We may not give the site to the Baptist University for TCM teaching hospital. We have to consider all the education needs. Next, Regina Ip. Mr. Chairman, we have received the latest letter from the Baptist University. And the BU oppose the site for being used as luxury flats. Many reasons have been given, but they have not mentioned the TCM teaching hospital now. I want to know whether the Baptist University has given up the use for a teaching hospital. Now, in fact, they have given good reasons. They want to give 300 more hostel spaces for self-financing places, and they want to for self-financing students, and they also want to expand their teaching and other facilities. I think in the long term, they really cannot find other sites for development. What do you think about it? Well, in case after the Town Planning Board has decided to use the site for education purpose, we will consider the long-term education needs. And the view made by the member will also be considered.
You have to answer in a more comprehensive manner. Don't be so concise. You are the Undersecretary. Come on, you have more time. There are 300 self-financing courses, so there would be long-term development for the university. Do you like it? Chairman, the 300 self-financing hostel places. Well, normally speaking, we will not provide land for self-financed hostel places. This is the norm for UGC-funded institutes. But of course, if the land will be used for teaching purposes again, then that would be a direction we can think along. But at this stage, we don't have that thinking. But what about other institutes? Do they have self-financed hostel places? Yes. On existing land or within the campus, if they can find land without affecting UGC-funded facilities, then they can finance their own hostel building. Well, I think hostel living is an important part of university education. It's part of the overall experience. You don't just take notes at lectures. And compared to other universities, what is the opportunity for Hong Kong BP or Baptist University students for hostel accommodation? Well, if they get the northern side, then they will be able to provide students with 1 year's hostel accommodation within the 4-year education curriculum. Next one, Ma Fong Kwok. Chairman, I have to declare that I am a director of Hong Kong Baptist University. I understand they need the site badly. What is crucial is how the administration views the fact that the universities should have some room for development, even if the UGC will not give the funding. If they can raise their own funds, if they would like to develop teaching or research in a certain direction, that should be encouraged. And what they usually lack is land. And this piece of land is just next door. Well, the administration said you do not necessarily have to give it to the Hong Kong Baptist University, but why don't you preserve it first and allow the Hong Kong BU to openly compete for it? But the Education Bureau is giving up a site which can be used for teaching purposes, and it is now going to be handed over to the Development Bureau for building flats. I can't accept this. I think the FH Bureau, well, you need a TCM hospital. You have got TCM education for over a decade, and yet you do not have a TCM hospital. The HA itself can run such a hospital. You can designate a hospital for TCM. It can be used by a few universities. The site can be here or elsewhere, but you have to do something. The Development Bureau, I sympathize with you. You need land for housing, but you can look for many other sites. Why do you want the site next to a university? I can't see why this is absolutely necessary. And then the Education Bureau. You should look at the future development of a university. If it can get its own support and resources and funding, it would need the land for development. What do you think? Chairman, this site, well, we helped the VTC provide another building in Cheung Kwan O, and so this is a site for swapping. So, in principle, the site should be handed back to the government. However, the Baptist University has also said that it can move some of its facilities back to this site. Allow me to continue. If we have this Liwai Li site, we considered the education needs of the different institutes. So we think the northern portion should be reserved for development by Hong Kong BU. And so the southern portion can be returned to society as a whole for the best use possible. Dr. Helena Wong. Thank you. I'd like to ask a question. At the Town Planning Board, and what it announced, it is said that 25,800 odd representations were received, and out of which only 7 agreed to the change of use or rezoning. In other words, 99.7% objected to the rezoning of the land. In other words, they object to the building of luxury flats on this site. I'd like to ask, what will the Town Planning Board do now after the consultation? Will it act according to public opinion and withdraw the rezoning application to Town Planning Board? Development Bureau, will you withdraw your application? Thank you, Chairman, and I thank the member for the question. First, I have to clarify that the Town Planning Board is a statutory board. The Development Bureau cannot speak on behalf of the Town Planning Board. Our understanding is that according to the Town Planning Ordinance, the rezoning application has been put out for public inspection and it has received the representations, which will again be for public inspection and comment. It will end on the 11th of June. After all the representations and comments are received, the Town Planning Board will act according to usual practice to consider these, and according to the legal procedures and the law, the rezoning proposal will be considered and decided upon, and that would be returned to the CE in Council for the approval of the plan. I'd like to follow up. That means the vast majority, the overarching majority, object to the use of the site for luxury flats. And now you say there would be more chances for the public to comment, and then it will go to the CE in Council. Now, does it mean that there will be this possibility that even if 99.7% of the people object, when this goes to the EXCO can make a unilateral decision, and that is the southern portion will be used for the building of private flats? Is that a possibility? Development Bureau. Chairman, the TPB acts according to the TPO. Now, according to the law, its main consideration is that planning-wise, what is the most optimum use for the land in question? And the administration has proposed to rezone the land to residential use, and the TPB will give that some independent consideration. If Kim Yun, public opinion is plain for all to see. No one supports the use of the site for luxury flats development. The question now is whether the administration places any weight on public opinion, just like the last item. Who thought out the idea? And in the process, did you really consult the public? Did you see the needs of Hong Kong society before you make a policy decision? I think that is the crucial question. In this paper, I think one paragraph, para 6, it's quite interesting. It says that there will be 2 parts to this site, and in future, no matter what, it would be prudent to think of the use of the site together, the 2 parts together. So why don't you reserve the site for education use? Originally, it was for education. If this can be included in the development of Hong Kong BU, I'm sure you can use the site more effectively. But now you are cutting up the site. And yet, you say that the 2 parts should be developed in tandem so that there will be effective use of the land, and you say it would be prudent to embark upon demolishing the building after the long-term plan on the future use of the whole site has been settled. We don't know when you make a decision on the luxury flats. In other words, the site will be basking in the sun for quite some time. On this point, I'd like to really ask you whether it is the most effective way to use the site by cutting it up. I am not a professional in this respect. I hope the departments can try to convince us with professional arguments. Undersecretary. Chairman, the long-term use of the southern portion is being considered by the TPB, which is also collecting public opinion. Let the TPB consider it independently so we will have a clearer idea. Deputy Chairman, anything to add? Actually, my question has not been answered. Why do you want to cut up the site into 2 halves? Do you have any professional principles behind? Do you have a professional view on this? Undersecretary. Chairman, from the angle of the Education Bureau, the northern portion of 0.64 hectare will be enough. Well, allow it to go ahead with the hostel building. Well, we did not say it could not. No, you say it should be put to use only after the entire piece of land is decided upon. No, we said that they could use the northern portion, but then it would also take time for them to do the planning. Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. Chairman, so many people objected to the use of the site for other purposes. And if you are aware of TCM development, you will know that the practitioners would really like to have a TCM hospital. Undersecretary, if we want to develop TCM courses, do you think we should have a TCM hospital? Undersecretary. Chairman, institutes now design the TCM courses. There is also a practicum element. The practicum can be done in mainland hospitals. But do you think it helps if we have a TCM hospital in Hong Kong? Are you saying we should always rely on mainland hospitals? And yet we should not have a local TCM hospital? Chairman, the long-term TCM development is now being considered by the FH Bureau. No, sorry, I'm not talking about the FH Bureau. I'm talking about developing TCM as a course, as a discipline from the education angle. Well, we have to complement the overall TCM development in Hong Kong. Under the present system, somebody would read the TCM discipline, and then there will be practicum provided by the institute, and come one day they will become a practitioner. No, you are not answering the question. I'm saying whether we should rely on mainland hospitals on a protracted basis to help us develop TCM in Hong Kong. Undersecretary. Chairman, from the education point of view, if there will be a TCM hospital in Hong Kong, which is going to provide practicum opportunities for students, we welcome it. But even now, people can get the qualification as a TCM practitioner. So it's still being done. It can be done now. Well, Chairman, then if that's the case, we should not run any TCM courses because they are provided on the mainland. Why don't you just rely on mainland universities and for us to send our students over, if that's your concept? So why do you want to develop local TCM disciplines, the FH Bureau? Let me clarify. Hong Kong TCM and mainland TCM are different. We go for traditional Chinese medicine, which is based on outpatient service. That is why we need time to study the structure and operation of a TCM hospital. Sorry, Chairman, I think you got the wrong person to answer my question. I was asking the Education Bureau. I think it's important to have this as an academic discipline, and they lack the practicum. Well, you were talking about development of TCM, so I asked the FH Bureau to answer. Now, if you're asking a different question, please do it. No, I'm just asking the Education Bureau. If you like to develop this as an academic discipline, then you should provide also room for the students' development. Why don't you just ask our students to go to the mainland to read the course?
Chairman, to develop a subject or a curriculum, one cannot just rely on the hospital, the teaching hospital. There are other parts as well. Well, it's my turn. I have to declare interest because I'm also the Consultative Committee of the Baptist University. Now, of the 5,884 submissions, only 7 were in favor of rezoning into luxury apartments, and more than 28,000, or rather 25,000, are in favor of giving the land to the Baptist University. Now, you need to listen to the views of stakeholders, members of the public, and then make a rational decision. Basing on the information for public consultation, you know what is public opinion. Turning the education site into a luxury apartment site is really a farce. It's a collusion between the Education Bureau and the Development Bureau. If it is successful, it will have a very far-reaching and damaging impact on the education scene. You must change your course and do not turn this site into a site for luxury apartments. I want to ask a simple question, see if you will repent. Will the Development Bureau return this site to the Education Bureau, and will the Education Bureau take the initiative to fight to retain this site for education purpose? Will the Development Bureau return the site to the Education Bureau, and will the Education Bureau fight to get back this site? Thank you, Chairman. With regard to the former campus of the Lee Wiley College, the southern portion, since the site do not need to be retained for education purpose, will you return the site to Baptist, the Education Bureau? We have no intention to do that. Will the Education Bureau fight to retain this site? Popular opinion is very clear. Do you disregard public opinion? Chairman, when we made the decision, we thought through the demand for land by the tertiary education sector. We have no intention. What's the purpose of the public consultation? You've got the public opinion. You know how many for, how many against the rezoning. Why do you still adhere to your decision before the consultation? The consultation has been done by the Town Planning Board. We know there are many objecting views, but all people who have given the submission ask for retention of the site for education purpose? Do you respect public opinion? Development Bureau. Now, concerning the submissions, they are submissions given to the Town Planning Board, and the Town Planning Board is considering the rezoning of the southern portion of the former campus of the Lee Wiley College. The next step is for the Town Planning Board to follow the statutory procedure and consider the submissions made by members of the public. Okay, time is up. I hope the administration treasure public opinion. Next, teachers employed on contract terms in primary and secondary schools. Now the Secretary for Education is with us. Paper CB4 756 1213 bracket 04. A show of hands if you want to ask any questions. Kenneth Chan. Oh, you saying goodbye? No. Kenneth Chan, Vice Chairman Leung Yu Chung. Who else? Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for coming to our meeting. Concerning paper CB4 756 1213 bracket 04, please make a short briefing only. Thank you, members. Under existing policy, the Education Bureau works through two major means. to provide teachers, and they are regular teacher establishment to be computed mainly according to the number of classes and class-to-teacher ratios, and different cash grants for meeting specific policy objectives. Our society is changing, and the schools need to adapt and improve in order to meet the needs of the community. To assist the schools to implement various education policies and measures, apart from regular teachers, we also provide cash grants to teachers to the schools so that they can flexibly deploy resources to recruit additional teachers, counselors, and teaching assistants. I want to stress that a large proportion of teachers are within the establishment of regular teachers. According to the schools in 2013-14, there were 40 of the 42,000 teachers employed in the public sector schools. There are only 4,000 teachers who are employed using the cash grants, or less than 10%. 1,500 and 2,500 for the primary and secondary schools, respectively. The schools can make use of these cash grants to recruit teachers and teaching assistants. The Education Bureau attaches importance to the professional development of teachers. Contract teachers and regular teachers can apply to study in the professional development programs offered by the Bureau. The contract teachers, when being transferred to the regular establishment, their experience will be recognized. The experience as contract teachers will be recognized. So we are, on one hand, we are able to maintain stability of the teaching team. On the other hand, there is flexibility given to the schools, and this is also in line with needs of the schools. Thank you. Those who want to ask questions are as follows: Kenneth Chan, Leung Yu Chung, Yip Kin Yun, Helena Wong, Fernando Cheung, Sid Ho. We'll have to end at 6:30, and we only have 21 or 22 minutes. 4 minutes each, questions and answers together. Kenneth Chan. Thank you, Chairman. Where are you, Mr. Secretary? Mr. Yang was present to bear our criticism, and those policy areas belong to your portfolio. Now you've come, and you should be criticized. At the last LegCo meeting, I mentioned the need for a teachers' union. Now you turn education into an industry. You want flexibility. You mentioned human resources policies. Now, because of these excuses for flexibility, those who have enthusiasm have been driven away. And in fact, that is casualization, so to speak. To coin a word, casualization of education. This is that is contract. The 2-year contract, after 2-year contract, after another 2-year contract ad infinitum. Is it a commitment to education? I cannot see that is a commitment to education. Now you give money to the schools to employ teachers on contract terms. Now you say you don't have the details of the year of service of these contract term teachers. You give the money, but you don't look into the situation of these teachers. You say that will help to maintain stability of the teaching team, and you say that you will remind the school management the importance of good human resource management practice, and you review the use of resources and provide help appropriately. But you don't know the details. How can you give advice? How can you adjust your policy? The whole thing is wrong. The best approach is not to have these contract teachers and the contracts that last for just 2 years. You probably don't know the situation. As far as you know, how many of these contract teachers are informed that they can only be on contract terms forever? They will never be able to become part of the regular team. The Secretary. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members, for the question. If you look at the actual situation, the contract teachers know fully well the purpose of the contract. Say it is a 2-year program. It is for the development of a particular course or curriculum. It is just for the start of a particular curriculum or course. And say if the teacher has performed well, then there are many examples that the contract teachers have become regular teachers. That does happen. The issue is whether the school has the need, and it is a school-based approach. As for the pay scale, the contract teachers also have a same pay scale. Now, Chairman, this morning, the teachers came. They are regular teachers. They are not short-term contract teachers for 1 or 2 contracts. Now, when they sign the contract, they say that the contract, your contract, upon completion of the contract, you do not have a chance to be in the regular team. Look at the contract. Look at this. This is the reality. Leung Yu Chung. Paragraph 8. The schools make use of the cash grants and other funding to create these posts. These are not for the long term. These posts are not for the long term. Now you are recruited. You, with your eyes fully open, you know that it's on contract. It may not last forever, and they will have to say goodbye within 1 or 2 years. Can you just ignore their contribution to the schools? 1,500 and 2,500, altogether 4,000 of them. Can you just sit on your hands and leave these teachers to their own destiny? Well, if some of them, if they perform well and they can become regular teachers, that of course very good. But the point is, those graduates of the Education Institute, also Institute of Education, also want to get regular contract or regular terms. They want to be regular teachers instead of contract teachers. Will you change your arrangement and let these contract teachers and also graduates of the HKIED to become regular teachers? If you don't do that, then you just dash the hope of these contract teachers and graduates of the HKIED. I want to ask the Secretary, in view of cutting classes, if not closing schools down, can you allow more teachers to become more contract teachers to be regular teachers in order to help the SEN students?
Secretary, thank you. In terms of establishment, we keep that under close watch. Say, for example, if there are permanent posts that are not filled in a school, we'll remind the schools to put teachers in a permanent post. And secondly, the 4,000 would include teachers, teaching assistants, and other support staff. Number 3, we do hope that the 3 or 4 types of posts can eventually become part of the establishment. That is why the opportunities for continuous development are open to them. But in the process, we have also to see what their original objectives are when they first join the workforce. We talked about the 3 kinds of grants. It is given at a 0.1%, one of which it is a recurrent or standing kind of grant, and they can decide to employ teachers or not. And secondly, it is for a particular purpose. Sorry, you're wasting my time. In my own school, there are teachers who will not be hired again in the coming school year. So I know the situation. Let me ask you this directly. Can you not expand the establishment so more people are included in the team? Secretary, if you look at the existing establishment, there are still many vacancies to be filled. I just had a look at the latest figures on the field recruitment web pages. In April, May, and June, I can read out the vacancy figures for you. In April, 222, May, 785, and June, in the first week, 1,050 vacancies. So recruitment is still going on. Thank you, Deputy Chairman, Mr. Ip Kin Yun. Chairman, I'm really shocked. The Secretary just told us these figures. I'd like to seek more understanding into these figures. What kind of posts are we talking about? Are they contract or regular posts? Are they in primary school, secondary school, or in KGs? Can you give us the breakdown? Secretary, I have another figure. 563 for secondary schools, 481 for primary schools. But what are these positions? Are they teachers, teaching assistants, regular or contract terms? Well, we can analyze the information. All that is in the public domain. We open the newspapers every day, but it's very difficult for me to find any recruitment advertisement for regular teachers. In the front line, I have come to understand that all principals are telling me that there are no positions that can be created. About half of the schools have agreed to cut classes. And now even if there is natural wastage, they cannot have positions to hire teachers. And then there are other schools which will face a cut in classes, so they cannot fill any new posts. So what is happening is that the problem is not just in the North District. In terms of continuous development for teachers, there is a huge problem. And the entire education sector is worried that there will be a big fault or gap because new teachers will not get a job and they will just be put on contract. And yet, very soon, they will not even be contract teachers anymore because there will be no allowance for liberal studies or English. We feel that you are rubbing salt into the wound when the situation is already very bad. What is left will also be cut. We are afraid that contract teachers will not become regular teachers, and some of the contract teachers will actually not have employment anymore. I have received many complaints that they are really at a loss because they can't find a job. The same can be said for new graduates. But the Secretary is telling us there are hundreds of vacancies. I think this is hard to believe. And if you look at this paper, I really need more time, Chairman. If you read this paper, number 7, there are the first category of contract teachers, about 2,000 of them. And then in para 8, 4,000 contract teachers, and we are talking about a total of 6,000 contract teachers. And then you have to include new graduates, and then there are teaching assistants who have not been included. Therefore, young teachers really are facing dire challenges. I hope the Bureau can see this situation and come up with a long-term plan for the continuous development of teachers. Or else, a few years down the road, you will not be able to find teachers and you will not be able to attract youngsters to read the teaching colleges. No questions? Well, this is a big problem, isn't it, that I have painted? I hope the Secretary can respond. Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Can I defer to the DS to speak on the issue of contract teachers? Thank you. I understand members' concern towards contract teachers, and I'd like to clarify certain figures in the paper, Para 7. Time-limited contract posts. They are in established vacant posts. And so they follow the same pay scale, and they also contribute to the Aided School Teachers Provident Fund. They enjoy the same kind of benefit. They are DCP teachers. Why is it that schools need this kind of arrangement? It is because schools have some developmental needs. And if you need more explanation, I can do it later. These DCP teachers can continue to be hired in the next year. If we should find that schools do not allow for reasonable arrangement in terms of the years and also the period, I have said in the paper also that we would write to the schools to ask for an explanation. In fact, in the last few months, we have issued many letters to ask schools to rationalize the situation when they recruit such teachers in September, and we are confident that schools will do a good job. As for Para 8, teachers employed on cash grants, I have to say that the rationale for this policy is such that we can meet the needs of students in different ways. Teachers would be one of them, and we can also see that in schools, the purchase or procurement of service may be more appropriate. So we have cash grants. So we give the biggest flexibility to schools to make the best arrangement to meet the needs of the students. Every year, the schools will have to accumulate experience to see what best arrangements can be put in place for students. So our district staff and also staff of different divisions always liaise closely with schools on this policy of cash grants. Dr. Helena Wong, before you ask a question, I'd like you to comment on the 1,050 vacancies. Can you give a breakdown? Yes, later on, please. Dr. Helena Wong. Chairman, today we are not talking about permanent staff, but contract teachers. I'd like to remind the Secretary that even at tertiary institutes, there are also many contract staff. Okay, today we're not going to talk about the tertiary institutes, but you must be mindful of that situation as well. In this paper, you do not signify any intention to change the system. You still would like to maintain that 5.7% of teachers are to be employed on contract. It seems you don't see a problem with that. But our worry is that contract teachers do not enjoy job security because they don't know whether they will be kept when the principal says, thank you, goodbye, they will be gone. So you are creating this instability. If teachers do not know whether they can have a job when the contract is due to end, how do you expect teachers to fare? How can they devote all energy to teaching students? I hope when you make policies, you don't only look at providing flexibility to schools, and so schools should dance to your tunes and policies. And once you change your policies, it doesn't matter if people are sacrificed. I think you are looking at human resources too much from a management point of view, and this does not apply very well to the education sector. I'd like to ask a fundamental question. In paragraph 2 of your paper, you say either they are regular teachers, according to the number of classes and the class-to-teacher ratio. But you would also like to maintain 5 to 6% of teachers who are there to provide flexibility according to your policies. And then in paragraph 4, you say that there are teachers for SEN, some for senior secondary classes, not necessarily for teaching liberal studies. Now, if you are talking about students with SEN, shouldn't you take that into account when you calculate class-to-teacher ratios? And these teachers should become regular teachers instead of teachers employed on cash grants, because that does not afford stability. The same for liberal studies. You allow it for the first 1 or 2 years, and then it will be discontinued starting from the next year. And all the liberal studies teachers will be turned away. Or else, how can you deal with them as part of your senior secondary education? And yet the liberal studies subject has been with us for a short time. However, you withdraw the money. This is so disturbing to schools and teachers. The most fundamental issue is, will you promise to review the class-to-teacher ratio so you will include these teachers as regular teachers? Secretary, thank you for the question. Later on, I will ask the DS to give a detailed answer by providing figures, but then I will make 2 points. One, in terms of primary 1 students, we are giving them more teachers. This is really because we want to provide some stability, because I don't want teachers to lose their jobs just because of a drop in the population. Secondly, just under MOI, we have added 1,200 places just for MOI. And if students need particular teaching assistance, and I'm talking about Band 3 schools, we have allowed for 6 multiplied by 220 units. Maybe I now should defer to the DS. Thank you, Chairman. Let me talk about the 2 kinds of cash grants. Let me add, as for students with SEN or underperformers, as we said in the paper, there will be the learning support grant. 10,000 or 20,000 would be spent on each student. On top of that, there will be 0.3 extra teacher or 0.7 teacher for a class. In other words, apart from the cash grant, there is also an extra class-to-teacher ratio. The necessary subsidy will be given. And as the Secretary said, there will be 1,200 more teachers. Now, the basis is that they are for the entire territory.
We've added 1,200 teachers to help the Band 3 students, or the lowest 10% of the students, and together with plus MOI, altogether 1,200 additional teachers. They are within the establishment. They are regular teachers. As for liberal studies, let me clarify this. At the start, we provided a one-off grant for 4 years. 4 years in a row. And now we are providing on a regular basis 0.1 teachers per class. 0.1 teacher per class. So in a school that will be about an additional 1.5 teacher. That can be a school-based arrangement for putting the 1.5 teacher to the liberal studies. We have talked to the school principals and teachers, and we reiterate this point. We ask the schools to make use of these resources. Every year, we give them the Senior Secondary Curriculum Support Grant. We give them every year. And under this grant, they should make full use of the grant instead of having any money left. We'll continue to impress this point upon the school principals. Right. Next, Fernando Chang. Thank you, Chairman. In the social welfare sector, we experienced a regular manpower ratio, a regular pay scale, and everything was smashed by the lump sum grant, and we collapsed. I hope the education sector will defend the establishment. Now, they don't want to change the establishment. They don't change the teacher-student, the class teacher and class ratio. They don't have small class action. Now, when you take labor action, they will have the school development grant, and when integration education failed, they put, say, $10,000, $20,000 there, here and there. Now, they said that only 5.7% of the total number of teachers are having defined contract periods. But if you look at the total, 4,000 employed by cash grants, they are 100% on short-term contract. Together with this, they add up to 14.15% of the total number of teachers, let alone the teaching assistants, let alone the teachers employed by DSS. I can say that more than 20% of the teachers in primary and secondary schools are on short-term contract. Now, in para 12, it is said that they will monitor the situation, and when the ratio is too high, they will intervene. But look at the whole education sector. 20% are on short-term contracts. Now, you say it is just 5.7%. That's not true. In the social welfare sector, we are suffering. The majority are on short-term contract, and only a small number are on long-term contract. The wastage rate is nearly 20% over the years. And in several years' time, all the staff members have changed. This is related to the service users. If the teachers keep changing, a good teacher may disappear next year. How can you maintain the quality of education? Give me the numbers. Among the 4,000 teachers employed under cash grant, what is the wastage rate in comparison with the regular teachers? Give me the wastage rate. The Secretary. Thank you for the question. I don't have the information in hand. As for the 4,000 places, they are recruited on a school-based requirement. Now, let me provide some figures to Mr. Chung. In 2005-2006, the teacher-to-student ratio in secondary schools, 2005-2006, 18:1. 2012, 13, 14.5:1 for secondary schools. For secondary schools, 18.4:1. And then 2012, 13, 14.4:1. Now, since there are differences among students, we're trying to improve the ratio. Now, they say there is improvement. Because the overall number of students has increased, and they have not enough time to close down the schools. If they are really sincere, then all these teachers should be put in the should be put on regular terms instead of giving cash grants, thereby exploiting the teaching staff. Next, Sito. Well, I don't argue over the ratio. I just want to ask Mr. Ip to help us. Give us a timetable of a secondary school teacher to us. The teachers have all the lessons. They have no free lessons. From 8, they have the morning assembly, and then they teach throughout the day until 3:30. And then after school, they will have to lead the students in extracurricular activities, and they also have teachers' meetings after school. They have day in, day out. The timetable is like that. 8 lessons per week, 8 lessons per day, every week. Now, for your grants, these grants can be taken away at any time. Why can't you increase the number of regular teachers in the grant and subsidized schools and government schools? If DSS can bring more benefits in terms of school-based approach, why can't you give flexibility to the granted grant and aided schools? Now, St. Stephen's want to change into DSS because they claim that they can increase the number of teachers. The money given by the government is not enough. They want to add more teachers, so they want to increase the school fees. As a result, the interests of students will be undermined, in particular to the community at large in respect of upward mobility. If the school sponsor bodies have to turn their schools into DSS schools and they charge $30,000 at least per year, then how can there be upward mobility for the poor students? Well, if they are regulated by, they follow your system, then they have 20 or 30 teachers short of what they need. You need to conduct a review frankly and properly. With the present workload with the NSS, with more and more complicated family situation and social situation, there should be more teachers. We should review the number of regular teachers in the grant and subsidized schools. This is for the students' benefit. The Secretary. I thank the member and also thank you, Chairman. I want to make 2 points here. I fully agree. I visited different schools. I looked at their timetable. I saw for my own self. In fact, about 1 or 2 meetings ago, we mentioned the number of classes and also the ratio, and we are collecting data on the number of lessons. Members can rest assured that I will follow the matter up. As for the second point is this. Now, in the senior secondary curriculum, I've noticed that the number of lessons taught by the teachers have reduced. I've taken into account, we have implemented we have implemented some measures to reduce the lessons taught by the teachers. We also compare the numbers. Recently, I talked to a number of school principals. I asked them about manpower. They say their emphasis is on language, in particular English. We will collect more information and we will share with you our findings. When will they increase regular teachers? We should end at 6:45 if we add 15 minutes to this session. Does any member want to have a second round? If none, then I will give all the time to Mr. Yip. 4 minutes. Questions and answers. Well, just now, English is mentioned. I'm happy to hear from the Secretary that more teachers are needed for both languages. But a grant that will soon be ended is the grant for enhancing the teaching of English. And we expect that about 400 young English teachers on contract will lose their jobs. The fund is supported by the language fund, but just now it is said that there will be another $5 billion added to the language fund. Now more is added to the language fund, but they cut the funding for recruiting or for employing young English teachers. When they say that they want to strengthen the teaching of English, they reduce the funding for employing young English teachers. I've met with many contract teachers, and they are given one contract this year, and then they given another contract next year, and they will give another contract next year. They may have to switch schools. They may have to switch subjects. So when they take up their job, they will have to consider where they can find another job under the next contract. If you say this can enhance morale, that's utterly nonsense. And I find it strange that the description of the situation by this paper is so good. If you look at the frontline situation, you know that this is entirely a different story. And that is the problem of a big gap, a yawning gap. In the future, we will not have young teachers who will become experienced teachers. After 10 years, there will not be any experienced teachers, and our education system will not be sustainable. I look forward to the special meeting on the 22nd of this month. I want to see more information about this gap. I hope you will provide me the information. In the government and aided school, the distribution of the seniority of the regular teachers, or the age distribution of the regular teachers, if we can see that their years of experience are declining, then we will be able to see when the gap will happen. I don't want to criticize you. I just want to know the problem. We need to face up to the problem. The problem is very, very serious in the education sector, and I hope the Education Bureau will face up to the problem and find a solution and help our younger generation. I hope the Secretary can give the undertaking. In fact, the figures are very easy to get. Secretary, you don't have much time. I thank Mr. Yip for his suggestion. So much for today. We draw a line here. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.